Rachel Fuda, Lil Baby Ray Ray. You need me to warm your bottle before you go to bed tonight, pumpkin? Hmm? And then when you graduate and grow up a little bit more, you can elevate to a sippy cup. And then after the sippy cup, when you grow even more, you're a big girl and you can drink from the big girl cup. Yay! I need her to go. I am so over her and her immature antics. Like, I don't need to see her for another season after this. And tell me, y'all, how someone who tries to bring peace in the situation can still get like rolled over with the bus. But of course, we'll save that for the end, y'all, because that's where everything happened. What's going on? It's your girl, Tiny, to be here to chat it up with y'all, party it up a little bit, get some of this out, have y'all let me know what you think, where I'm wrong, what I missed, because I just thought this joint was crazy at the end. I'm like, what am I watching? Like, again, I'm in the Twilight Zone. And so I'm definitely going to fast forward past quite a few things to get to some others. Granted, there were some mentions that, we can kind of get into, but obviously the whole heat was at this Bougie Kids relaunch party. In the meantime, shout out to Miss Hillary Miles. Thank you so much for your beautiful comment today. You really did make my day and put the biggest smile on my face. I appreciate you so much and definitely hope that you come back. Okay. And so getting into it, we're reviewing Real Housewives of New Jersey, season 14, episode number 9. I'm engulfed in this craziness. So, y'all, let's go. You get engulfed with me too. So, I will say too, I just feel like, I don't know if you guys thought like I thought, for the most part, maybe until the end, I felt like things were a little underwhelmed, or I felt a little underwhelmed. And I don't know, maybe because I was just tired, but whatever the case, I'll start with Marge and Joe, and I'll provide more context with that later, being so that was a serious situation. But the thing that stood out, just on a more lighthearted note, was Marge's house. And I was talking to my sister in law, and here's the thing, because we're definitely divided, but in the most just non problematic way possible. Like, we get it in, we go back and forth, and then we're wrapping up with like laughs and jokes, and probably laughing and joking in between. And so, the best way she put it, and she absolutely adores Marge, was that Marge's house looked like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. And I was like, you know what? That is spot on. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of a Dr. Seuss coloring book. And I don't even know if Dr. Seuss ever had coloring books, but it looked like somebody just took pages out of her room and just did whatever the hell they wanted to do. Like a 2-year old completely just colored and decorated her house, y'all. I'm sorry. It was a mess. You can say what you want to say. I was getting a headache when the cameras were just switching from room to room, because it's like, y'all didn't even give me enough time to process what I just saw. And then you already throwing something else in my face. And then that's a whole like, whoa moment. Y'all, it was too much for me. Call me crazy, but no thanks. Like, definitely not my style. And so fast forward to Danielle, right? And her being in her house. The only thing I pulled from that, because again, I really am not concerned and do not find Danielle interesting at all at this point, is when she said that where she comes from, pushing somebody like that is yoking them. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Danielle is from Staten Island. I come from Long Island, New York, which is not too far from Staten Island. So I want to say we're still in the same vicinity of, slang pretty much, to the point where last I checked, when somebody yokes you or yokes you up, they're pretty much snatching you up. They're either putting you in a chokehold or they grab you, what I'm saying, at the front by your collar, whatever. So I'm like, since when is yoke pushing somebody? But okay, listen, maybe it is different in Staten Island. I didn't grow up there. I don't know. Fast forward to Dolores, and I'm like, did she say she actually accepted the offer to help run Paulie's electrical company? So, in other words, she completely disregarded the ring. Okay. Also, sidebar, because you guys have definitely been putting me on in the comments to me just opening my eyes up a little more when it comes to Dolores, because you had some amazing points. And so, even after I recorded my last video, I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? As a matter of fact, right? Not that I've never heard Dolores being dirty mouth, but for whatever reason, what jumped out and popped in my mind was the reunion. Do you guys remember? And I don't know what season it was. And again, like I said, I do this for fun, so I don't really try to get into the whole investigating and all this other stuff. Where her and Jen Aiden were into it heavy. As a matter of fact, I remember them sitting on the couch next to each other, and Dolores called Jennifer Aiden a "see you next Tuesday." Meanwhile, she was so vexed about Jackie calling her an effing slob. Now, both are absolutely wrong, right? And I'm not here for either one of them. But if I had my preference, I think I'm gonna go with an effing slob over a "see you next Tuesday." A "see you next Tuesday" to me is the equivalent of spitting in somebody's face. Like, we know how harsh that word is. So I'm like, with that being said, I don't get then how Dolores was so 730 hot. Like, girl, like, you haven't said crazier things yourself. But anyways, that situation's over and done with. It is what it is. Obviously, Dolores is going to ever will forever be mad at Jackie for it. And so we're going to skip and gallop right past her and Paulie's scene. And I was getting ready to also skip and gallop past Rachel's scene. But, when I saw she was hosting a support group for young children with arthritis, I definitely thought that was pretty awesome. And it sucked to hear, what they have to go through, those young children, and just the interference that it caused. Because you think of, or it caused, excuse me, you think of children, and it's like children are innocent. They're meant to just enjoy their lives and in a perfect world, not have any issues, any problems, just be a kid. And it's like to know that their bodies have to just ail with this pain, or, it's so unpredictable that, they can be harmed, just walking or doing something or not able to do something is, you know what I mean? It's very, very sad to hear. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely praying that, their days get much better. We were able to sit and listen to some of them share their stories, and, even Rachel kind of share her story. And, that definitely, was a hard thing on the ears for sure. So my heart went out to them on that. And I'm sure it did for you guys too. So now we see the scene where Joe is marrying Melissa's cousin. They pretty much showed a sweet moment with them. And, Joe was pretty much commenting again how he won't be at his niece's weddings. We know that he feels the same as it relates to, just the vice versa of it all. Obviously, Teresa won't be at his kids' weddings. Anything's possible. Maybe things can work out by then. But we know that family can look different to a lot of people. So, as I've mentioned before, while to me it doesn't necessarily fill the void that he's missing with his sister, he still has people that he can love on and that can love on him, and that can be a beautiful thing, when family does look different. And I also feel like family can pretty much, you know, that family values are gone, for lack of better words. These days the family values are gone. And some people treat family members just like Joe Schmo off the streets, sometimes rightfully so, and sometimes unnecessarily. I get that it has to be that way sometimes, but I don't know. I just think of my mom just telling me stories and sharing with me compared to just what my family dynamic is now, of how even back in the day coming up, like, all they were about was family. There was no such thing as not making up. There was no such thing as not showing up to your grandmother's house for Sunday dinner after church. Whether you had to work or not, she expected to see your face. And I'm sure a lot of you will probably feel that. Some of y'all even older than me. And it's just the respect level for family is just not as strong. Not from what I see. And again, to all of y'all that do have that, shout out to that. Hold on to that. Continue to cultivate that. So we go into Jen Fessler and Teresa. They meet at Jen Aiden's house. I'm like, oh, shoot. The people who don't like Jen Fessler are in a tizzy right now because she's spent her time and used her gas and went out of her way to drive over to hang out with the devils of the show, according to, the fans that don't see it for Teresa and Jen Aiden. Meanwhile, I'm thinking with Jen going over there, why can't it be that she's just a neutral friend who doesn't have a problem with anyone that happens to be opinionated? Aren't there people like that in the world? It's definitely all or nothing to me when it comes to fans, though, with Jen Fessler. There's no in between with her. It's like they're not going to give her a break. They're seeing, or, feeling like she's two faced. I've since seen that, and that she's messy and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, if you guys say so. I totally disagree with that. And so Jen Fessler asked Jen Aiden how she's doing after the other night. She says she's in shock and demonstrates on Teresa how she pushed Danielle. And I said, okay, now, Jen, the way you pushed Teresa was a little light something. And that's not what happened that night. Okay, we're going to tell it. We got to tell it like how it occurred. You definitely pushed with more force. And I can see, if anything, if she did push Danielle lightly like that, Danielle probably at best could have just maybe slapped her hand off her, like, don't touch me. I don't think she would have been so reactionary, if that's the real word that I want to use. So I'm like, nah, Janae, let's try that again. You know what I mean? But this whole stole word from Charity is the phrase of contention between Jennifer, Aiden, and Danielle. And I don't think that Jen was implying that, that Danielle had stole from Charity at all. If anything, I felt like she was pretty much saying there's just a way to do things, and the way she was doing things was out of order. Someone in my comments mentioned Teresa being a direct person, which I definitely agree with. And I said Jennifer Aiden is the same way. So with that being said, if Jennifer wanted to say that Danielle stole, then she would have most certainly, and with no issues, without batting an eye, would have used the word stole. Okay. Jen has said all types of stuff in the past, right? Like, what would make this time any different? As a matter of fact, she's gotten more bold and more kahunas as the seasons have gone on. So what would she really have to lose over someone that she doesn't really see it for at the end of the day by saying that? So I'm just like, let's come up off the fact that she said this word when she didn't. And I love the fact that the cameras still have not caught that yet. So now Jen Aiden says how Danielle was like, telling her on the phone, we should be getting paid for this. And I can 100% see Danielle saying that. Y'all let me know what you think about that, especially with the articles that have been floating around. Now, I haven't gotten too deep into them. And someone else in my comments had put me onto game that people were coming out of the woodworks about Danielle and just how crooked she is with the people that she so called goes up for, or her peoples, like she referred, how she looks out for her people. No, you don't, girl. You just as shady is as shady does. And I also feel like I heard too that her actual stylist was interviewed. I definitely need to go look that up. I gotta make a note. I've had so much going on because I do want to read up on some of this stuff. Like she had, some people traveling with her that were doing things for her, staying in all types of janky hotels. And I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. This fits the narrative of what we've even were given in this season, just as she treated the girl who did her hair for free. The thanks that girl got. Anyway, so now Teresa says that she feels like she's in the middle of Danielle and Jen. And I'm like, Teresa? How many times have you put people in the middle of your stuff? And I still love you, but I gotta call a thing a thing. And you definitely would be pissed telling people that they should have stuck up for you. Okay. Some things we can't rewrite history, right? No matter even how much someone changes, which I'm not saying particularly she still wouldn't feel the same way to this day, but we just know that that's always been a staple of Teresa. That's almost like her motto. Like if you rock with her, you better rock with her all the way. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, scratching my head on that one. And I understand the fact that she wants to help clear the tension by having them talk. But if someone crushed a drink in Teresa's face, there would be no more talking till the end of time. And these things we know. And listen, some of us would feel the same way, right? Now that you've gotten physical, oh, all bets are off. I have nothing for you ever again in life because you violated. Taking things to a physical level is a whole different degree, So, not to say that she would be wrong, but we can't act like, oh, I just want you guys to talk and get over it kind of a thing. It's not that simple. And so I truly understood Jen's disappointment in Teresa. But I'm like, could it be that Teresa feels Jen started it? Because she puts her hand on Danielle first. And again, all of that is debatable. I know. And I'm glad at least Jen expressed how she felt so Teresa kind of knows what it is. And that's what friends should do, right? So instead of going and maybe she will moving forward. No, I think she actually does. I was going to say, instead of going and talking about Teresa behind her back, I feel like I saw a clip. Y'all let me know for just the upcoming episodes where Melissa and Jen Aiden are real cozy talking. And I think Jen Aiden kind of brings up the situation, but I could be mixing things, y'all. I've had so much on my membrane, so forgive me if I'm wrong about that. And I said, wait till Margaret sees not only Jen Fessler at Jen Aiden's house, but her hugging Jen Aiden after the comment that Jen made when they rolled the footage to show how Marge was like going off on Jen Aiden, like, Jen Fessler will never love you more than she loves me. And now Jen Aiden feels like she's proven otherwise. So now we get to Joe and Margaret, and just pretty much to get into the meat of it. And before I do, I can't help but to admit another discussion my sister in law and I had. I said the best part of that house, it looks like so far, is the unfinished closet that they're in right now. Like, can we just leave that like that? Please. We need a room where we could just zen out and there's not a whole lot going on. So Marge ends up calling the doctor because they've been waiting on results as it relates to, Joe's prostate cancer check. And once she calls in, the doctor reveals that his exo count was abnormally high and there's likely a chance for prostate cancer. And he was saying the good thing is that if it is the case, then at least they've caught it, at the early onset, which is always a good thing if it has to be a thing we know as it relates to that C word. And so, even for me, like Marge, not like Marge, this is a show. We assess the characters, we pick the ones we like, we don't, whatever. Most of us should pack it up at the end of the day and go on about our lives, but I'm seeing in my comments that that doesn't happen. And so, on a serious note, to hone in on the fact of the matter, like, this is a sucky thing that they're having to go through, and it was a very, very sad moment. Like, if they didn't go ahead and change the scene when they did, I know I definitely would have been in tears. I'm surprised the tears didn't fall down, because even they had her and Joe, once Marge disconnected from the call with the doctor, a quick moment where they were kind of looking at each other, and I felt like their eyes said it all to each other. And it's a scary thing. You don't want even your worst enemy to go through something like that, or at least you shouldn't. And, even again, all craziness aside, the real deal is that Joe Benigno appears to be a good guy and a nice guy, and it's like, it always sucks because you feel like the nice people always have to deal with the worst things. So, another situation that I'm praying for, praying his strength through. Obviously, it's been months ago since they were filming, maybe even a year ago, I'm not sure. So I'm hoping that just the report is much different than what we were given, that it's been an excellent report, that he's doing great. I don't know if you guys have heard anything or seen him out and about or on social media, because I'm not on social media. So let me know if y'all got any updates about his health, but I'm definitely praying that he's okay. And so now we get to it, right? Danielle's Bougie Kids event. So I'll pretty much say, how she did that. Everything was well done. Super, super on point. Absolutely love the kid DJ. And before we get into it, I said first, here comes this lady, Tiffany. Y'all, what purpose has she served? And in what capacity, if any? Please let me know. Please let me know. And so, anywho, Danielle's gathered with Jen Fessler and Lil Ray Ray, okay, and Tiffany. And Danielle says Jen Aiden said the most horrific things about her. And I said, well, she didn't say you stole from the charity, so that eliminates that. So what else is left? What other horrific things did she say? What makes her this dark person? All right. So Jen Fessler, like she said it, it's not like Jennifer Aiden slept with your husband, Danielle. And I agree. Now that's horrific. Here comes Tiffany chiming in. What did she say? Something like, oh, well, well, Danielle just threw the drink in her face. Girl, you were there. You were there. You saw that she smashed the drink in her face for the millionth time. And they talking about, oh, well, if Danielle would have caught her with a right hook, she would have felt it. Well, she damn near did catch her with a right hook the way she smashed that joint in her face. And so Jen Fessler tells Danielle she was a part of the problem. And Danielle says it sounds like Jen Fessler has Jen Aiden's back. And Jen Fessler pretty much was like, yes, I do. But even aside from that, I'm like, it sounded like to me, Jen was being the voice of reason like she always is. Because Danielle was part of the problem. At the end of the day, you got your dude energy up in that moment when you were talking to Jennifer Aiden and you started calling her all types of names, crazy ones at that, disrespectful ones at that, just the dirtbag alone. I don't even know what else Danielle called Jennifer Aiden. I just heard dirtbag, and that was enough for me. And you was all up in her personal space. Okay, that pretty much was the cherry on top, or the what do they call it? The nail in the coffin. So you doing that, or but for you doing all of that, maybe Jen wouldn't have pushed you. And I'm not saying that again, she was right for putting her hands on you, but I'm just saying this is how the situation played out. Might not have escalated to that level if you came a little differently. So now we have Adventures in Babyland Part 1, right? Because Teresa arrives and comes to hug the girls. Little baby Ray Ray, she quickly scatters and makes a beeline. She didn't even know where to go. She looked so confused, but she just knew she had to get the heck up out of Dodge so quickly because Teresa came and cleared like Teresa does, the boss, right? And so I'm like, Rachel, couldn't you have just stood there like you didn't even see Teresa? Because she wasn't going to say nothing to you. She don't see it for you any more than you see it for her. All right? You should have shown her that you weren't really thinking about her. But at any rate, they start talking about the situation again, and Teresa says she doesn't know Jen to be a liar, which was a point that I kind of feel like now everybody lies at the end of the day, right? Even if it's white lies or whatever. But I don't recall anything, and refresh my memory, y'all, like y'all do, to where Jen has just been like a solidified liar with something so serious. You know what I mean? Again, I got to get my wheels spinning. I could be speaking too soon on this, but I'm with Teresa on that. And so to Teresa's confessional point, she says Danielle thinks Jen Aiden is dark, but yet is friends with Margaret, who's pretty much evil. And even again, if we don't want to take it to the level of calling Marge evil, I will say, though, that Margaret is the same person who keeps an arsenal full of weapons locked and loaded. She's shown us that a few times, this season included. So now we get to a scene where, or the camera's pan to, another part of the party where Gia asks if Jen Fuda referenced her in any way, pretty much negatively, right? Or used her as an analogy. And this is to Jen Fessler, Teresa standing there, Dolores is standing there. And Jen Fessler is like, absolutely not. Like, he didn't, and he didn't. We saw it, right? They rolled the footage back for those of us that may not have remembered that moment in the prior episode. Now, granted, at the same time, I still wish he would have left left Gia out of it. Okay. The same way the Fudas don't want their name in people's mouths, well, give the same level of respect. Use a different example, John. Okay. And here goes the shy fox, or I'm not shy, the sly fox, Melissa, right? Because she's trying to wiggle herself in undetected with the mess like she always does. And she says to Jen Fessler when Jen Fessler walks up to them, where have you been? Talking ish? Couldn't they just have talked about how cute the party was or something else? But all right, y'all. And I'm sorry, Melissa asked because Fessler lets them know. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. My notes got me confused. I'm sorry, Melissa asked, right? Because Jen Fessler lets them know she was letting Teresa and Gia know that Jim or that John would never, speak negatively about Gia, whatever. And so Melissa's like, oh my God, why are you bringing it up? And I'm like, oh my God, why are you getting involved again? And that's the thing, Melissa. Jen Fessler didn't bring it up. Gia asked her. Okay? She asked her, and Jen Fessler simply answered her question. And in a positive way at that. She gave an answer that was positive. that could have maybe broke some of the tension that you and the other bitter Bettys want to keep perpetuating. So now we have Adventures in Babyland Part 2 because little Ray Ray storms off again after she hears this, has a tantrum. And y'all, I thought I was tired and hearing things, kind of like how I've been a little tired throughout this review, so forgive me. But them getting upset was so retarded to me because I'm like, what did I miss here? And that's a real question for y'all. Y'all let me know what I missed here. The perspective, the angles, the because it's like again, so y'all just wanted Jen to stand there. That would have been the best option. Sidebar, Melissa refers to Gia as a child. That's just part of Melissa's vocabulary. For the record, yet again, Melissa, Gia is not a child. Maybe if you want to have referenced her as such years ago, fine. This girl's in her 20s. Now, I understand what Melissa kind of meant because she's like, look, this is more mature conversation, more mature situations that because of the dynamic and what it is, she shouldn't be involved in. Fine. But she is. And she more so now can be because of her age. But that comes with the level of hierarchy, right? And it just depends on how you're raised, what's okay, what's not. And her mother's okay with it. So be it. And so Margaret says, don't talk about Gia and John Fuda in the same sentence, right? She says this to Jen Fessler. But I'm like, but John can talk about Gia in the same sentence. Got it. All I can say is Jen Fessler, now you know what it is. I wouldn't say another word to defend nothing from the light of day to the dark of dawn to whatever. I'm out of it. Okay. All right, fine. No problem. I am totally out of it. And Rachel says in her confessional, Jen is not her campaign manager. But a few episodes ago, you were crying that she's not a good friend. But then when she tries to be, it's still a problem. This is why I need you to grow up. So now we have Adventures in Babyland Part 3. And little Ray Ray says, why are you yelling at me? And then storms off again. I was like, okay. Somebody just escort her out and tell her to go on home. Let's not even have her waste her energy anymore. So in Jen Fessler's confessional, I feel like she pretty much summed everything right on up in terms of the way that Rachel was acting, because I promise y'all, that was my thought process until Jen said it. I'm like, this girl's acting like the biggest baby on earth for the 1,000th time. And matter of fact, not even the 1,000th time. I feel like she showed her slip with it more this time, and it didn't make her look good. And I really hope when she looks at this, she feels like, I don't even want to take it to the level of embarrassed, but I hope that she makes the correction. I hope she sees the error in her ways, because that would be a good thing. That would be a good thing. I can't imagine having to be on TV. You have everyone scrutinizing you and talking crazy and all this other stuff. Listen, they do it on these YouTube comments, and it's something as simple as that. So I can't imagine being in that limelight. But at the same time, I would like to think I'm going to try to be a little consciously aware of how I present also, for the most part. I'm going to slip up sometimes, but Rachel's theme has been immaturity throughout, and it's just heightening and getting worse. And so I'm like, after Jen Fessler pretty much drops the mic on that one, what more was there to say? But anyways, y'all, that's pretty much all I have for it. I just thought it was ridiculous. I really did. I would have been floored like Jen Fessler was floored, because I, again, don't understand how you can make an issue out of something positive, something that somebody was trying to do. And I'm trying to think, hypothetically speaking, like I said, if she would have just stood there, so Gia would have asked her, and I guess maybe the response that people who are going to be against Jen Fessler would say is that she should have just said, I'm not getting involved. But I think she thought she was helping the situation. I don't think that she was trying to come from an angle of causing more dissension. If anything, I feel like her choice, like I referenced, would bring some type of level of simmer. Like, okay, well, we can put that to rest, that notion to rest, because that's actually not what happened. So that's one less thing and one less notch in the belt of confusion. But y'all let me know what you think. All right, it is what it is. Y'all already know what I'm going to say. Don't be approved. That music came on. Don't hold up the wall. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think, what you feel. If you thought this was ridiculous, at the end of the episode in terms of how they were so upset with Jen Fessler for saying anything. If you totally disagree and felt like, being part of the messy, fessy crew that Jen played herself and, she should have kept her mouth shut and all of that, you know, whatever, y'all. It's just crazy. But, anyways, on another note, I will say, y'all, that my guest list to the party is getting bigger. Even though I don't like big parties, but in this instance, I do. The more the merrier. I'm so glad that you guys, again, are taking the time to come my way and just watch, you know what I'm saying, party with me a little bit, give your thoughts and opinions. Thank you again. I will continue to do that. It's going to be annoying. I'm sorry, but it is what it is and it's true. And so, with that being said, y'all, I will be back next week. I hope that more of you come in, more of you express yourselves. I'll definitely be looking forward to it. Until then, y'all stay up, stay blessed. I'm going to get some rest. So forgive me for all the errors in between. And I hope to present to y'all much better next time, okay? I'm out. See y'all later.